We're back in the spirit of Texas losing to Oklahoma, but this is not a Texas stream. I'm Chris Drew from Medicine Sports, back with my guy Ron from Best Damn Media to give you some more Buckeye content. And it was a unique week, to say the least, on the Ohio State front. So we're going to bring you a good old stock up, stock down report. Thank you for Bleacher Report. Thank you to Bleacher Report for having us back. But Ron, what's good?
Nothing much, man. How's it going? The Buckeyes are 5-0. I can't complain too much. I was a little frustrated after the win, but then I see Texas lose. I see Miami lose, and man, is it good to be a Buckeye.
This is like, I'll just spoil a little bit. I'm going to complain a good amount today, but it's more like I'm complaining, but at least we're not Miami. Yeah, I'm complaining, but at least we're undefeated type thing is kind of where I'm coming from today. Because boy, oh boy, my side hobby is rooting for the Yellow Jackets. I thought that game was absolutely cooked. And when that game got uncooked and then recooked for Miami, I was losing it. But I had to walk around the house and whisper. Didn't want to wake up the house because that game was mad late. But, college football, best sport in the world, in my opinion. Just another incredible weekend. And this next weekend is going to be probably as exciting as last weekend if you look at the slate of games. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Ohio State because, boy, oh boy, it was the tale of two halves for the offense. It was the tale of, if your TV made it through the first half, congratulations, because you probably want to throw a remote through it. There was the odd fake punt, just a lot of odd stuff going on against a Mike Locksley-led team. So stock up, stock down. Ron, I'm ready to get into it.
All right, where do you want to start? Do we want to start on a positive note or do we want to start on a negative? I feel like it's way too early. We're not even 2 minutes into the stream. Right. We have to start with something positive. So we are going to go with stock up first. Give me your first stock up for the Buckeyes.
I mean, stock up wise, at least on offense, I think there's an easy one, right? Cade
Stover. Farmer Gronk. We have talked about him ad nauseum this past year because we said he left lots to be desired in the past game. He was having issues blocking early on in the season, and now I can't find a bad word to say about Cade. He's out there catching. He's making efforts in the pass game. He's out there blocking, making sure he's handling all of his blocking assignments. We see him on the last play of the game against Notre Dame drive his man all the way out of the end zone after the week before people were criticizing his blocks and whiffing on blocks. We seen him he chipped a defensive end and almost threw him completely through our left guard's knee. So Cade has heard the criticism that people have had about his blocking. He's heard what people have said about his route running and his catching ability, and Cade has stepped it up this year. Every time I look up, Cade seems to be making a blanket type play. So shout out to him. He seems to be a target that Kyle really trusts, and he's having himself a heck of a year. So definitely stock up for Cade Stover. I mean, I've already seen PFF mock drafts with him mocked higher than the great Brock Bowers.
Yeah, that's insane. But I'll let you out. Yeah, I'm not going for that one, bro.
I'm not PFF. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So, it's funny. I'm gonna be the one that eats crow here because I all offseason was saying like Cade Stover doesn't need a pro day. He needs a career day. We're talking about, someone going to work on the farm afterwards. We're not talking about an NFL player because last year he frustrated me so much with the drops, with him looking and being built like a good blocker, but struggling to block. So it kind of bugged me a little bit. But this year, even early in the year, I was frustrated, but he keeps making plays, like 2 catches, 66 yards, and the long touchdown. Like, you got to feel good about Cade. And moving forward, it's weird to say, but he's kind of been a staple of this offense.
Absolutely. And my thing with Cade Stover is I was like, I'm done criticizing Cade. Like, anytime he's being thrown to in the fourth quarter, double covered, like, that's not on him. Like, he's out there doing what they ask of him. If they throw him the ball in double coverage, like, Cade did not scheme himself up. Like, he's not like, yo, coach, you know what we should do? Ignore Marv and all our wide receivers. Get it to me. So shout out to Cade because he goes out there and does what's asked of him. If they put him in a position where they ask him to do too much, at this point, that's not on him. That's on the coaches. He's shown what he's good at doing. And as long as they keep doing that, I think he should see continued success. And I think he could play himself. And I think a day 1 pick is a little crazy to me, but I think he could absolutely be a day 2 pick by the end of the season with the way he's been playing.
Not gonna keep it a beam. If he's a day one pick, someone's gonna get fired over that just because I know what that means. But I will say this on Cade Stover. He reminds me a lot of Jason Witten. Jason Witten wasn't explosive at all. Didn't do anything that was like, holy smokes, what a freak of nature. And yet somehow, because he was so not explosive, people just left him open for 14 years. And it
Bud
feels
hooks
like
for 14 years.
That's what I'm saying. And it feels like that is the case with Cade Stover. Like sometimes he's open just because people don't want to cover him. And shout out to him for being a good blocker and kind of dictating that. But Cade Stover, man, big stock up. If you're a first rounder, good. Go get the money. To me, at least you're a third rounder. But if we have, a third round tight end here is a plus because I know Jeremy Ruckert's somewhere punching air because this is what he came to Ohio State to do. And he's getting to see the guy that was a linebacker, then a defensive end, then a tight end, then back to linebacker, then back to tight end, live out his dream over here at Ohio State.
It's so funny. Ryan Day said with Rux last year, hey, we're going to break the receiving record for tight ends at Ohio State with Jeremy Ruckert. And he did not. And now Cade Stover's featured like Ryan Day, or like Brian Hartline recruited him. Like we treat Cade like he's a wide receiver.
I will say this, just last little point on Cade Stover, the way he is catching the ball this year, oh my goodness, I cannot wait for next year because the tight end position is getting bigger, stronger, faster, freakier. Like you're going to get guys like Jelani Thurman. If he gets that same kind of target haul, that's a guy that's explosive, can block, can really, really run, and can go catch a jump ball. Imagine running all the current route tree with Jelani Thurman that Cade Stover runs. And then also, he can run a fade route as well. So I'm excited moving forward. And you know, I stock up. I like stock up on Cade. And then once teams start to kind of go cover Cade, then it opens up more for zone 6. At least that is the hope. Are you ready to move ahead a little bit?
Yes, sir. Where are we going? Are we going up or down? Are we sticking with our positive vibes here, or are we going to cool it down here and talk about some places that may need improvement or places that you're cooling on? Because some of these people, I'd say, were stock up coming into the season.
Yeah. You know what? Let's go good news, bad news. Let's go stock down. So stock down at least defensively, and I will eat crow on this one as well. Jack Sawyer has been large part really disappointing to me.
Absolutely. If you find any of our preseason prediction shows, you'll find your boy Ron James predicting that Jack Sawyer would be leading this team in sacks. We're calling him Sack Sawyer all offseason. He led the team in sacks last year despite playing out of position outside of his traditional defensive end role. Mm-hmm. We had him at the hybrid Jack Leo role last year in Jim Knowles' offense. He said himself in the offseason that he felt that he was playing overweight. He slimmed himself down. He said that he felt twitched up this year. And you know that's a special term around Ohio State. If you're saying twitched up, you better be out there moving. And I just have not seen it. And there's some other guys that are going to make this list due to his lack of production. We're not seeing Jack get home. We saw the way he just completely disrupted spring games early in his career. We saw what he was able to do in high school. He was a top 5 ranked recruit in his recruiting class, and we're just not seeing the production while we're getting great pressures out of this defensive line. They're doing well in the run game. I mean, and our defense is playing great. I mean, I said during our pregame prediction for Maryland, if this defense is able to hold them under 24 points, that's a success. And we held them to 17 again. So, I mean, it's hard to criticize this defense, but I definitely expected more out of Jack Sawyer. And we've seen other people behind him perform that we're going to get to later in the show. But absolutely all around disappointed with Jack at this point.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. And that twitch word, you're right, is a famous word at Ohio State. And so for me, the biggest disappointment was we hear about the twitch, and then Jack Sawyer gets out there and doesn't use anything that would suggest he has a twitchy move. Like, it's cool. Like, the twitch is cool, but I want to see something other than the bull rush then. I'm cool with the bull rush if you have no twitch. Give me a speed. Give me a chop. Give me some other pass rush move. And because of that, you've started to see more Kaden Curry, who we're going to talk a little bit about later. I've been disappointed in Jack Sawyer. I think at times he's had really good moments in generating pressures, but I need people. I need this defense to generate sacks there, and I thought he was going to be the guy that really, really had a shot. Now, it's not as down on him as some other people on this team, but you are going to start to see, I think, at least more and more rotation. And again, as a third-year guy, you're a top 5 player in the nation. We expect you to give 6 sacks. Like that doesn't feel like too ridiculous. I don't want you to be Chase Young. You don't have to get 20. But can I have 6?
I think that's reasonable, especially progression from last year based on 4 playing out of position. You would imagine he would be able to see improvement, especially with the pedigree that he came into Ohio State with.
Absolutely. I do want to kick it back to the good news, though. Go back to stock up, if that makes sense. And we're going to go to the defensive side of the ball, kind of stay in that same position group. My guy, Kaden Curry. Now,
and this is the guy that you just touched on as far as we've seen people produce at a higher level than Jack when in the game at that position. It's not like we're, clamoring for someone else to perform on defense. Like we've seen defensive ends be able to get home and create pressure. So Kaden Curry's been a guy we've been hearing a lot about. And this past week, we saw him start to break into that rotation. What are your thoughts on how Kaden Curry's been taking advantage of the opportunities that he's been receiving lately?
I like Kaden Curry. Now, I'm not sure he's as athletic as Jack, if that makes sense. But he's like one of those guys that the motor and the engine and the awareness of where the ball is at all times makes it like that kid that you play basketball with that isn't very good, but he comes down with every rebound, every loose ball. That's what Kaden Curry is in this defense, and I think if we're not going to be getting sacks, we need that at least.
Absolutely. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was like, we talk way too much because I was like, man, he may not be faster, but his motor seems to run faster. It seems like he's moving, like he is playing like it's his last snap every time he's on the field. And that type of energy, I feel like is infectious on that defense. And you can see the energy that he brings when he's on the field. And it's like once his pass rush is relentless, because we saw in his probably best highlight from the game was that pass breakup that he was able to swat down at the line of scrimmage. He gets stuffed on his first move, sticks with the play, relocates the quarterback, keeps him in the pocket, and then is able to get his hands up and knock the pass down. Because if you're not going to be able to get home, you hear it on every broadcast. You can't get home, you better get your hands up, like knock that pass down if you're not getting home. And to see that he had that awareness and that discipline to not just spin himself out of the play or overrun the play and stay involved. I thought that was a great flash from a young guy like Kaden.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job, and I think he's earned the right to have more playing time. I mean, getting your first significant snaps against a quarterback like Taulia is tough, because Taulia, people don't want to talk about it. He is more of a magician than I think nationally people realize. He does have some wiggle to him, some escapability to him. So you have to have a high motor if you want to kind of disrupt him at all. And it feels like the Ohio State staff defensively felt like, you know what? Like, who has the best motor on our defensive line? It's Kaden Curry. He's fresh. Get him out there. And additionally, he was able to force 3 pressures on only 11 pass rushing snaps. And a lot of those pass rushing snaps were the quick bubbles, getting the ball out. So big stuck up for Kaden Curry. And I think he is what this defensive line needs. And really, I'm not saying Jack Sawyer should be on the bench for the rest of the year. In fact, I still think Jack Sawyer should maybe start. But I will say, guys need to get in, and the fact that he flashed that much makes me feel better about guys getting in, because the number one thing is keeping guys' legs fresh. And that Notre Dame game, Rob, Ohio State only played 2 defensive ends the entire game, and people were looking like the Ohio State defensive ends are getting pushed around. Well, yeah.
They're tired.
Yeah, they're tired. So you want to be able to get somebody fresh out there at times and to provide something different, because Kaden Curry brings something different to the table than Jack Sawyer. So definitely stock up on him. And, we just did a stock up, so that means we got to bring it back to the good old stock down. It's been a hot topic all over the net, all over the Buckeye net. The offensive line, stock down.
Absolutely. And we were on our pre-production call talking about, man, who should go on this graphic? And I'm like, it has to be Justin Fry. Like, we talk about how Justin Fry, if we trust any coach on this team to get their room in order, it would be this guy. He talks a big game. He talks about the importance of fundamentals. Very square jaw football guy. And to see our offensive line look so disorganized, and again, I can't say this enough. Week in and week out, I'm like, I watch the tape. The most infuriating thing about this offensive line is I have yet to see someone put one of our guards or our tackles on their back. It's not like they're getting whooped with spin moves. It's not like they're letting up crazy pressures in the pass game. It's these guys are constantly arms out looking around like, didn't know who I was supposed to block, or two guys blocking the same person and then not getting up to the second level. It's just constant, just mental mistakes, hands to the face penalties, offsides, or false starts. It's just a lot of discipline things, and it's just disappointing coming from a guy that has such a high pedigree. He worked under Urban Meyer as a GA, a Chip Kelly guy.
Steve Adazio is a no-nonsense guy. Like, Steve will rip anybody apart. Steve would yell at me if I said one too many times on a microphone. Like, that's how no-nonsense Steve is. And I know that the hardest coacher is Justin. That's why it's so bizarre that the offensive line has looked the way they have.
Absolutely. And it's just like, but at the same time, it has to give you hope, because again, we keep saying week in and week out that if anyone's going to get this fixed, it's Justin Fry. And it hasn't killed us to this point. And we've seen this team be able to find ways to win despite the struggles that we're having with the offensive line. So fingers crossed as a Buckeyes fan that as the weeks go on, they start to figure it out. I mean, Q made a great point when we were talking about this on Buckeye BS. He said, you have 2 returning guards, but you did replace 3 NFL caliber players. Like, not only are the people coming in going to struggle to fill those shoes, the people around them that were already there last year no longer are surrounded. Because, I mean, to Matt Jones and Donovan Jackson's left and right were NFL players last year. Now, to their left and right are NFL starters, and both guards have a new person on each side of them. So, I mean, I know it's a lot to work through, but I mean, we're halfway through the season now. I mean, we had the conversation last week. You can't say no one's played anyone anymore because you're halfway through the season. Facts. And it's, I mean, we're there. The progress has to start hitting the paper soon.
Bro, it's so frustrating, and it feels like a culmination of like stud missing all those years. And then additionally, bro, like I don't know if we have the athletes for the scheme we're running. Like this stretch scheme, like running out sideways and then getting guys to the second level. Like, I don't think Fryer's athletic enough to do that.
Bro, he looks like he's saying left, right in his head when he's running, and like that's no knock to him. He's a strong guy, but seeing him run sideline to sideline or pulling or anything like that, it's just not in his game. It just looks like he's so labored in his movement.
It's like, please don't trip. Like, I don't think bro could grapevine across the gym floor. Now I'm lying. I know he's a good athlete, but that's what it looks like when he runs. And for me, it's like, dang, like, I know, and this is where I kind of get on Ryan Day and Justin Fry, and it may just be Ryan Day. I know that your scheme is your scheme, but what did Urban Meyer always say? You put your players in the best chance to succeed. That's what the scheme is for. And it feels like this sideline to sideline running is not working because guys are not able to climb to the next level. And I feel like this offensive line, instead of Ryan Day being so stubborn with the whole stretch thing, they need to start getting more downhill, because at least if things don't get blocked perfectly, you maybe gain 1 to 4 yards because guys are moving forward. But the stretch stuff, you're running 5 yards, and if it's not well blocked, you're cooked. You're cooked. and so it's been really frustrating. So definitely stock down on the offensive line. Want to go back to stock up and talk a little bit about the man who I didn't know his stock could even go further up.
I see. And when we started putting these graphics together, I was wondering, I'm like, can you even say stock up for this guy? But absolutely. When you're balling like this, man, the price is just going to keep going and going. Marv is out here balling 163 yards this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to
crazy.
Absolutely. I want to get your thoughts on Marv's breakout game and what you think. What do you think of his most recent performances? Because it seemed he started off slow in the year, and we talked about, are we going to see Kyle just throw it up like Mars down there somewhere? And I think we saw the first example of that with the over-the-shoulder catch right at the sideline. Kyle dropped it right in the breadbasket, and it's like, where is that more often? We've seen the All-22 film, and it's like, yeah, there's times that Marv's open, but a lot of the times that we saw Marv making amazing plays last year was him making contested catches. And he even said coming into the year that he wanted to improve on yards after the catch because he wasn't getting the type of separation to be able to do that last year. But we're, again, 6 games into the season. At some point, Kyle has to just be ready to throw it to Kyle or throw it to Marv in contested situations.
Some guys are always open. That's the motto. I grew up watching Georgia Tech. Calvin Johnson was always open. There's no such thing as a 50-50 ball with Marv. It's 80-20. And guess what? Right now, with the way our quarterback's playing, we will absolutely take the 80-20. Marvin Harrison Jr., the chatter was started a couple weeks ago when, obviously a little bit of a slower start to the year. People were talking about, look, is Marv really that good, or did it take Marv having an NFL quarterback, a really good one at that, I might add, with C.J. Stroud, for him to be productive? Right now, the reason I'm so comfortable with his stock is that he is playing at a high clip without an NFL quarterback. Now, you saw it even with the bum ankle. When he wanted to get open, he was snapping guys off and getting wide open, almost too wide open, to where like, what did Locke say? Like dropped out of a plane wide open, where you got to stop for 20 minutes to catch a deep ball. So Marvin Harrison Jr., every time I think, okay, the stock's not going up anymore, he does it. And he's playing at a high clip. He's playing with a chip on his shoulder, might I add. And those 2 touchdown catches, the one that got taken back and the one that he made, I was like, oh, yeah. Everybody in the stadium knew where the ball was going the second time. Everybody at home knew where the ball was going. DC over there at Maryland knew where the ball was going. Mike Locksley knew where the ball was going. All 3 DBs in the area knew where the ball was going. They just didn't know what route he was going to run and how big he was when he went up for the football. So stock up on Marv, and it's got to keep going up because they're banged up over there. I mean, Emeka obviously left the game in a boot, so.
Absolutely. You bring up the Emeka Egbuka injury, and I feel like that brings up another opportunity for someone to have their stock go up, and we have a graphic for them as well. So I want to get your thoughts on how this Emeka Egbuka injury impacts the stock of Carnell Tate. We hear about Brandon Inniss, the 5-star wide receiver, got to campus a little bit later than some of the other guys, but Carnell Tate has been there since January of last year, and we've heard from Marvin Harrison Jr. himself. He said that Carnell Tate came in as a freshman in a better place than Marv was going into his sophomore year last year. So with these opportunities coming up, if Emeka is not able to go, what do you think that means for Carnell Tate's stock going forward?
Carnell Tate is now going to have to do it with the lights on, and all indications is that he will be able to. Obviously, we know he had some concentration drops, but I expect freshmen to do that early. I think he's a real difference maker, and I think not only him going in, but him getting these reps these last couple of weeks is going to be big for him moving forward. I think now all of a sudden, if you have these 2 big, long, lanky receivers and Carnell trained at the X and at the Z, I think it'll open things up more for Kyle, because Kyle can get away with maybe not being as much of a precision passer when it comes to these bigger physical receivers. So stock absolutely up on Carnell Tate. I'm excited for him. I do hope, though, additionally, what it comes with is maybe some more BI in the slot, because we saw Emeka a good amount in the slot, and I think I'm ready to see BI as well, South Florida Express teammates with Mr. Carnell Tate.
See, that's not where I thought you were going, because I thought you were going to say you would like to see more Marv in the slot, because we heard during the offseason that Marv was repping at the slot receiver position. We know that is the most dynamic position in Ryan Day's offense. So I wonder if this opens the door to maybe sliding Marv in the slot on occasion and bringing Carnell in at the X. What do you think about that going forward?
I did like the idea, but then who's the Z? Who's the Z you want? And so for me, at least, it feels like the stat. Well, I love Jaden Bauer. Don't.
I was like, you know the answer to the question. It's JB.
I love Jaden Bauer. I don't think my quarterback can throw him the ball far enough. Is one of the issues I have. So for me, at least, I think about the fit of Marv. Wow, that maybe I'm tripping because 2 freshmen feels crazy. Marv in a state feels nuts.
I mean, but when Marv you have X, South Florida Express pedigree, come on now. If we're putting 2 SFE guys on the field, I'm going to be safe. I feel safe in that. If I have to put 2 freshmen on the field, I want them to be South Florida Express alumni.
No, me too. And I also would like to see BI in the slot, but I do think it's more likely that a guy like X can play in that slot. But how do you feel about X being outside, like X being at that Z place with Marv in the slot? Are you not really feeling that?
I got to roll with X. I'm done doubting him. If they tell me he can do it, if they tell me that he's a Michelin star chef, I'm gonna be like, man, when's his restaurant opening? Like, I'm done doubting anything that Xavier Johnson can do. He's the Blocko recipient for a reason. He's played running back, he's played corner, he's played wide receiver. He's a do-it-all guy. He's earned a scholarship here. And if they tell me he's going to go out there and play X, Z, Y, I don't care what it is, banana, whatever our guy John Gruden said, I'm fine.
Water
with
spy banana.
Yeah, spider Y banana. I'm fine with Xavier Johnson wherever they decide to put him out there. Do I think he would be the number one choice at those positions? No. But if he's going to be the guy to step up in the slot and that's who we end up seeing, I have all the faith in the world in XJ.
For me, at least with the wide receiver room, my thoughts are, well, if Emeka and Marv are a little bit dinged up this next week, forget about it. Let's throw everybody out there. I want to see BI. I want to see JB. I want to see what sticks. And then you give Penn State more to think about. Because if you put all those guys out there, someone's going to rip off a play, because if you are recruited to zone 6, you have that kind of upside. So put them all out there and make Penn State really stress out. If JB catches a slant, how's it? It's like, oh, wait a minute. That's something to think about. Can we afford to bring a safety up in the box? Can we afford to load the box with all these weapons they have? I just think guys being fresh with fresh legs against Purdue, you have a real shot to do something cool that you haven't had a chance to do before.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think our guy JB is one of the people to do it. You see him go streaking down the field. He's one of the fastest players in the Big Ten. I think
not just Big Ten, college football.
And all of college football.
6'2", boy clocked to 24 miles per hour. That is faster than Zachariah Branch. Not saying he's faster than Zachariah. Hey now.
I'm just saying.
The GPS that Mickey Marotti programmed is telling me that. We got to go to stock down, don't we? Because we got a big one, bro.
Yeah, man, I've been lying this offseason about this guy for a long time. I started a campaign, the Tommy Heismanberg campaign. I'm here to wave my white flag. I forgot to bring my props, but I had to cancel my tickets to New York. I've been telling everyone I'm going to New York. Me and Tommy Eichenberg, Tommy Heismanberg, and someone got in my mentions and was like, more like Tommy Hindenburg. My man has been playing God awful this year, and it hurts my heart to say it because I've been the leader. I mean, I have photoshopped this man's face on the Tommy Hilfiger logo. Like, I have been all aboard on the Tommy Eichenberg train, and it looks like it's about to be a train derailment because our linebackers have been awful. And the crazy thing about it is Tommy decided to play worse this year, and his roommate and running mate at linebacker, Still Chambers, said, "Hold my beer, watch this. I think I might be able to play worse." And it's crazy with the way this defense has been playing. It's a top 10 defense in the country by most metrics, but our linebacker play has been objectively terrible the past 2 weeks. And admittedly, by both of them, have both said in press conferences, I'm playing bad. It's no joke. You can see it on the screen. So what is your thought about the linebacker play at Ohio State right now?
I think last year they won the job playing a different position. And does that make sense? I think last year's defense, and I think Jim Knowles said it, the reason Tommy was on the field last year was because of the aggression and the instincts. So last year was about attacking, a lot of A-gap blitzes, a lot of them coming downhill and kind of wrecking things. This year, it's more about them understanding the flow of the defense and having responsibility, because this year it's about limiting explosive plays. So last year, it's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to run you guys downhill through that A-gap every single snap as hard as you can, and you just got to get through there and go blow something up and make a play. We're very rarely going to ask you to do something else. Now they're asked to be the quarterbacks of the defense, and that is where the struggle has been, and they're being asked to kind of be the security blanket rather than the grenade as they were before. So that, I think, is the struggles. It's alarming, and I'm more worried that I feel like because of last year, they've earned unlimited trust, and so I don't know if there's anyone outside of Cody Simon that's going to come in there and really do it, and I'm over here talking about CJ Hicks, Gabe Powers, where you at? But nobody wants to hear it. So.
But you know the phrase in Ohio State fandom, but they're all Americans. Yeah. You can't take them off the field if they were all Americans in the past. So, I mean, I don't know how many more games that we're able to watch them underperform before it's time that someone else has to play. And, I mean, we're already seeing the coaching staff acknowledge that there's clearly a deficiency at this position, because we've seen more Cody Simon than we have all season in the last 2 games, because it seems like offensive coordinators know that the weakest point in this defense are the linebackers. They are trying to confuse them. They are putting guys in soft spots in the zones right behind them. So they've been attacking these linebackers for the most part for the past 2 weeks. So it definitely seems to be a liability on this team and something that needs to be addressed. I know we have one more stock down, and I hate to end on this note. Did you have something to add before we bring the graphic up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, Sonny Styles is like the guy in the friend zone. Like, the girl's like, yeah, like, I keep getting with these terrible guys. Like, I want a guy more like you. I just like this, that. You're such a great guy. Like, you know, you're gonna make some girl really happy. And it's like, dang, I want to make you happy. Like, that's what Sonny Styles is.
I'm me.
Yeah, like, I'm here. I'm right here. That's just what I feel like is going on with the linebackers. We have a clear answer right in front of us, and it's Sonny Styles. But got to end on this one. This stuff's crazy.
I'm gonna put the graphic up, and this is gonna be a Braun level ISO. I'm gonna clear the floor and let you go.
Yep. Look, man, Kyle McCord has to play better. Kyle McCord's been really bad, and I'll keep it a beam. I know 19 for 29, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns. What more do you want? I want a championship level quarterback. When Ryan Day took this thing over, we kind of knew there would be maybe a step back in intensity from Urban Meyer, but we took it with the assumption that you would always have a guy that was in conversation for best quarterback in America. Now we have a quarterback that is not in contention for best quarterback in the Big Ten. And when that's the case, you get people like me really frustrated. It's so frustrating because Kyle, we know he's capable of making some of these big-time throws, and then you get the awful misses, like underthrowing the ball or throwing it way late to Marv on what should have been a 90-yard touchdown, and then throwing it behind Julian Fleming, who had to contort his body and do a baseball slide like he's stealing home in one of the baseball movies to catch that ball. It's like, put it on him. That's a touchdown. So for me, at least, Kyle McCord has been wildly frustrating on that point because at Ohio State, it's about championship-level play, period. It's not been that. But I know he's capable of it because we saw it for the 1 drive against Notre Dame. We saw it for about 3 drives against Maryland. But you can't afford to have slow starts against Penn State or Michigan. You can't afford to have 5 3-and-out start the game because that's where you lose ball games. So for me, stock down on Kyle, and I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping he grows, but definitely not a good showing against Maryland.
Yeah, I'm holding my stock for Kyle. I mean, I bought plenty in the past couple of weeks, and I'm definitely holding. I'm not ready to sell. This isn't financial advice, but I'm not ready to sell my Kyle McCord stock. I think that he's shown each week. I think one of the comments that we had before this week coming in is the best throw from an Ohio State quarterback this year still belongs to Devin Brown through all of these weeks. But I think Kyle might have taken that back this past week with that pass over the shoulder to Marv. And I think we have seen consistent improvement each week. It just hasn't been at the rate that Buckeye fans have expected it. And I think it will continue to happen. I just hope that it happens enough within the next 2 weeks that we don't jump up and get bit by a Penn State because, like you said, I do not think that we will be able to afford a slow start as these games start to become more meaningful. But I appreciate Bleacher Report for having us for this stock up, stock down edition. Chris Drew, get us out of here.
My man. Thank you. That is Ron from Best Damn Media, man, myth, legend. You can find him, honestly, everywhere. Where can they find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at 2Ts. That's 2_TEES. You can find me on the Buckeye Roast every morning at 8 a.m. on the Best Damn Media YouTube, the college football pregame show on that same YouTube with my guy Chris Drew every Saturday morning. And, of course, the flagship Buckeye BS every Sunday at 10 a.m. with my guys Cam, Q, and Mike. How about you, Chris?
And you can find me, and honestly, anywhere with Ron. We're always kicking it, always talking all things Ohio State and college football. Also, every single weekday on the Menace to Sports platform, we do a show at noon, live show, me and my guy Zach. And then additionally, I think we're doing a bonus show tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Nice little call-in show.
Woo!
So you can call, voice your opinions. But anywhere you want Buckeye content, me and Ron got you. Thank you, Bleacher Report, again. And it's time for us to get on out of here, Ron.
Absolutely. Go Bucks and OH.
IO.